everyone.
Hello, everyone. Guess what, everyone? Welcome to a casual where we get to chat with this amazing person, Tarot Ask Backwards. That's that guy right there.
Right here.
That one. The one who has the name that requires everyone to say it slowly. This is why you did it. I know. So, Tarot Ask Backwards. I am Tarot Stash. And thank you for being here. Please do all of the things to where you like, share, and subscribe because it's free. It's what the YouTubes need you to do. Oh, here, I got my other stuff to do, Jeff. This is for entertainment purposes only. Do not make decisions based upon what we say. Seek professional assistance. Really. Really.
Yes. Please.
Please. And we actually have already some of the best chatters here. So, best chatters, pat yourself on the back. Please give us a thumbs up. Do all of those things. And so, Jeff, Tarot Ask Backwards. How the hell are you?
I am superb. I am doing very well. I am recovering from a cold. I'm also grateful to be on such a creative venue as this because of like mind. We share that. And yes. That's something, especially within this tarot community, that I really, really appreciate because that interactive involvement is so key. So thank you for what you do, Gerald.
Oh, you're welcome. The check is in the mail. Thank you for that. I have been looking forward to this because I've seen you on multiple channels. I'm subscribed to your channel, so I get notified of when you put out a lot of videos. I was saying backstage, everybody, there was a moment in time when Tarot Ask Backwards, you know, you had what, a couple of hundred subscribers?
Yes.
You were on with Ali.
It was pretty low.
Connected.
The channel was hurting.
Yes, yes. And you were on with Ali and had such a wonderful time. Your subscribers just skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I think that's great. And I'm glad to have you here finally because we are now able to. So hang on, I got to take a sip because I'm so excited. I mean, what are you drinking?
Matcha lemonade.
Okay.
La-ti-da.
Fancy. The fancy stuff going on. I am drinking water and I have iced coffee. I iced coffee with milk. So it's like I say, you know, I like my coffee cold, just like my heart.
If I drink a lot of coffee, I get dehydrated. So I'm glad you're pairing the water with it. But I don't know if that's a myth or if that's reality.
For me, it's reality. However, there is different lines of thought on that, Jeff. I drink 5 of these quarts of water a day. So I am, I'm always about hydration. So this is the first time that Jeff is on my channel. So we're going to go up and say hi to everybody. Because there's that Tarot Stash who is on your channel. We are, by the way, we are simulcasting this. So if you don't see all of the chat, that is why. Jane the Seeker Tarot is here. Hi, Jane. Good to see you. And Jane the Seeker, I have a playlist of music inspired by Jane the Seeker on my channel because periodically Jane will say, have you heard this? Listen to this. Listen to this. So I kept saying, Jane, you need to create a playlist. And she hasn't done that yet. So I did it. Aquila B24 is here. Hello.
Thank you.
And Teresa, hey, Darian. First time catching you on a Sunday morning. This is the first time I've done anything on Sunday morning, because when you're trying to get the cool people who are very popular and who are very busy and who are responsible, you do it when you can. So this is Jamie, Wandering Mountain Bardic Path. Thank you, Jamie. Good to see you. Michelle Krantz. Hi, Michelle. This is Zane, Tarot Toke and Witchery. Nice.
I love these names.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And the lovely PD from the Tarot Lounge is here. And PD and I are going to be doing some readings together. We're going to do a live together sometime in the future, because when things are perfect. So it's great. No rush, PD. No rush. And Thomas from Tarot Your Way is here.
Hi, Tom.
And yes, Jane says his name always trips me up. Everyone say it with me. Tarot Ask Backwards. I'm going to ask you about this and why you
definitely got it.
Okay, we got 9 likes. We've got 10 likes. All of Jeff's links are below, so please go over there, pop over to his channel, like it. I need to make sure that I give it a thumbs up right now. And links are below to some of these books that this Jeff has written. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a bit. So, because I want to say hi to everybody. Star Midnight is here. Yep, I was thinking the same thing. You better pronounce it slowly to make sure you say the K. Well, there's a reason. So, and okay, so you can see all of the chat, right?
Yes.
Oh, PD is saying I got to go son to Jeff, and then it was like sub.
Oh, the sun. I haven't seen that for days until today. Which is very bizarre. Yeah. So when I saw that, I'm like, what? She must want to leave and go out in the sun.
There you go. How do I do that? Teach me. Teach you what, Jane? By the way, Jane and Nancy are with me tomorrow morning for readings. So
awesome.
Matcha is PD's favorite. And PD, I sense a lie. Gerald drinking coffee? Never. Oh, every drink is better with a big ass straw. Do you understand that, Jeff? Because this guy Thomas drinks 2 liters, drinks his
Diet Coke.
Out of a 2 liter, and I'm like, I want to get you a curly straw. Well, I couldn't find a curly straw big enough to do that, but he's got a big ass straw now. So, and Catherine is here. Hello, good to see you. Good morning from PEI Canada. Where is that?
Prince
Jeff?
Edward Island.
Prince Edward Island. Thank you. I learned something new. See, Jeff is always teaching. Liz in Awe is here. Hello. Gerald is the bomb.com. I don't know if you could say that. So, here you go. You were on with Thomas recently to talk about, was it temperance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, temperance, and today's got the devil. So after this, if I skedaddle, I'll go right over there at some point. But this promises to be very interesting today. This show.
Well, you've got 3 shows you're doing today. Then you've got this one,
Heather tonight.
Casual. You've got Heather and Kaylee Fogo Pogo, and you were talking about poetry, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And then you're talking about the devil, and you know nothing about the devil, do you?
I'm an angel.
So was the devil.
A fallen angel,
I should say. So, Vicky Howell, hello. Who else did I miss? And Shaw Woman is here. Hello. Good to see you.
Hi, Shaw Woman.
I believe that's Dina. So, Michelle Williams, good morning. Gerald, you and PD will be doing a live sometime in the future. I said you've already done a live together. You just haven't experienced it. We have done lives together. We are going to be doing more. Hypnicity, hello. And Jane is like, I've seen that hose straw. So, because I sent Thomas a really big straw. So, Ben Ryan is here. Hello, Ben. Good to see you. Good to see you. And sending warm sunshine from Cozumel.
Oh.
I've never been there. Okay. I've never been able to look at Temperance the same again. The original looks like they are standing on a chicken leg. You heard it here first. Vicky said, I was born ask born and ask backwards. Oh my goodness. The amazing medium Betsy Palmer is here. And Betsy is going to be on with me and Tanis on Tuesday. We are talking about how your perception is your reality.
It's true.
It is. Laura Hammond Davis is here. All right. Yeah, chicken legs. Great. Now we'll be looking at the Temperance card with chicken legs. Anyhow. So, okay. See, I've been talking a whole lot. I do all of this stuff. I'm like going, no. And Jeff, you are an author. And by the way, Jeff was kind enough to send me copies of his books. And I'm almost finished with this one. Speaks for itself. And Some Good Writ, correct? Am I pronouncing that right?
You're pronouncing it correctly. And there's a story behind that as well about why it's titled that. It was supposed to be Some Good if you take the WR out and add the SH, some good shit.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't in good faith do that. So I thought, let's be clever about it and call it Some Good Writ.
Okay. There you go. Some Good Writ. Well, and we'll talk a little bit more about these and okay. Oh, look.
Fogo Pogo.
Looking up image on Google to be sure. Found the leg. Okay. Yep. Got it. Okay. She's looking at that. Kaylee is here. Fogo Pogo. Just woke up. Was out late doing karaoke last night. Okay. Kaylee, I want to know, what is your karaoke song? Your, ride or die karaoke song. So, and do you have a karaoke song?
Do I? Yeah. Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover by Sophie B. Hawkins. I get down on the floor to that song, and I do, if you saw the second video she put out of that, not the one where she's half naked going like this on the floor of an apartment, but in a studio where she starts crawling around on the floor. But I have to be really, really drunk to do it. But that's my go-to karaoke song.
Okay. I love it. Yep. Got a love for Sophie. Yep. So what, okay. So I always ask this, what's your origin story? And I know, having someone ask me, what's my origin story? I go,
yeah, that's what I read when I read it.
Okay. Do you want a little help?
Yes. Or I was going to say everything that culminated in who I am today, or the origin of my ancestry, my Akashic records. What are we looking at here?
Share with us, when you think about, I'm going to make a huge assumption. You are a spiritual person. You are a spiritual being.
Yes. I am a number 7 life.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
You're a chariot? Okay.
Yes. In fact, I am. I'm a 3-4, meaning I have whatever. I can't remember what two cards are in there, but I am a 3-4-7.
Okay.
They broke
So,
that up. It was Spiritual Growth Tarot that did that.
oh, great. So when you think about, um, okay, so then, I'm going to make another assumption. Correct me if I'm wrong. I personally believe we pick and choose our family units and our friends. Um, when did you first become aware of being spiritual?
Um, I would say when I was probably in my mid to late 40s, when I started to see a lot of things around me crumble that I didn't expect would crumble or take a different shape. And it
Uh-huh.
meant for me having to put more, not faith, but redefining, as we were talking about, what my perception is of certain things. And it happened to coincide with two different health episodes my father had had earlier,
Mhm.
but then they degenerated into a lot worse. And I feel as if I've come full circle since he died because I've been able to, with that second book, flesh out the rougher edges, and present them in such a way that I can gain something from an experience talking about perception that would otherwise be misery, right?
Yes.
So I've been writing since I was in my early 20s, but I also think my talent has gotten better. Only because I'm listening more to the messages that are coming through. And from those, I can just end up writing something and I'll be done in like a day.
Uh-huh.
So, getting back to your original question, um, I want to say I've been spiritual at least. I mean, I think in some ways I've been spiritual ever since I've been born. I was always, I wouldn't say high minded, but idealistic. I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like I could do pretty much anything I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I didn't like something in school where I wouldn't study it, I would only study the things that made me happy and take the D's where I could get them and still go into college and still do these things. I failed 1/4 of geometry, uh, 8-week period. I hated it. I hated chemistry, but I feel like I persevered through the things that I needed to. And I think I knew I always wanted to do something in the arts. I knew I always wanted to do something through either multimedia, either music or form, or my dream now would be to collaborate with someone in a musical realm who could take some of my stuff and actually put it to some either, because I think content takes many forms,
Yes.
um, into something else because I like to see things grow.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Um, okay, so in your 20s and then in your 40s, oh, I'm gonna catch up on chat. This is how you've seen my shows, Jeff. You know how it works. I chat and
Mhm.
then we look. Shaw Woman says act geometry. Um, and hello, Flower Beauty Peacock Rainbow. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. And Ben Ryan said, sounds like life begins at 40.
In a
I
lot
think
of ways, it does.
Yeah, I think a lot of it does. I think for me, a depth of understanding starts to emerge. It started to emerge in my 40s. So Vicky Howe said, I've been writing poetry since I was in my teens. I get a phrase and then it just takes off. Yes. And
That's my method, yeah.
is it? Okay. Yeah. Leah said, hey, how are you guys? Glad to see this collaboration. I'm glad to have you be
Well,
here.
yeah,
And medium Betsy Palmer said, the 40s stuff happens. Sharon Foster, and then I did see Sally is here. Sal Rods is here. Thank you, everyone. And look at this. Richie Longman Tarot is here. Well, well, well. What a surprise seeing you on a Sunday. Hello.
Hi, I saw you the other day with Gerald on his show.
That was a great show.
That
And
was a really good show.
I have to tell you, Richie, Chris, and I think we did great readings together. And it is one of my most popular videos. It's like, boom. It's like amazing. So, okay. Okay. Shaw Woman said, I started writing songs when I was 10. Miss Moonlight is here. And Nalani said, my latest awakening started at 60. So, Michelle Williams said, Jeff, I have your book in my Amazon cart. I'm going to buy the hardback copy. It could take 2 weeks to get here, so I must wait until move this month. Yes. Get it? Yeah, it was a good one. It was a very good one. All right, so the names of the books. Let's get these out there. Speaks for Itself. And subtitle is A Commodity of Musings from My Life. I'm going to put that up there. Maybe that can help some people. Whoop. There you go. The link to this is below in the description. And then Some Good Writ. If one of my mods can put those into the chat, or I will, I can do that. So, so you've been writing poetry, or you've been writing. Has it always been poetry?
It's always been poetry, even in college. It was the form I was most drawn to because it didn't have to always adhere to a linear style. It also, as I said, can take many forms. And sometimes you start writing about something, Gerald, and it's channeled into something that at the end could look very differently from what you had envisioned. So I always enjoyed that. I used to, as a kid, like those choose your own adventure books where, even though it was a story, you could go and pick your route. I think in a lot of cases, something that resonates a certain way when you write it might have a different meaning 5 or 10 years from now. And to me, there's like the future past, the present past, and the past. But at that very moment you're writing it, it means something differently, obviously, because you're not in the moment of it. So it could be capturing, distilling a moment, or it could mean something greater down the line that's prophetic. Some of our greatest poets were like that. Nostradamus was a poet, not by trade, but he was a poet. So I think for this community, I find it embracing to be using that gift to broaden my ability to channel, even if I don't always see things. And I also feel it helps me to pull back, especially when I do the poetic prayer at the beginning of a reading, to get a better sense for what it is I'm trying to accomplish, and also take my personal bias or my confirmation bias out of it. But yeah, to answer your question, it's always been that. I don't see it changing. If someone ever did a screenplay of some of those poems, I couldn't envision what they would look like, because I feel like they jump in time.
Sure.
Time's an illusion. I believe time is part of the foundation of the 3D. And that's something we have to get away from, as our own man-made concepts of things. Those are what are holding us now, and that being one of them.
Yes. Care Bear said, poetry is my favorite writing form. I like to use tarot for inspiration, and I write songs. Awakening started at 40, 43 now, work in progress. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you for telling me that. It can be a road for a writer, you tend to think of it as the introvert, and I've always been introverted. However, I think for me, the release comes, this has been my one true joy because it gets me out of myself and out of my own head. And
Mhm.
it's therapeutic in that regard. So if I
Yes.
can't get it to someone else, at least I can get in the moment exactly, precisely through language, what it is I'm trying to say to you, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Yes. I love that because I think all of us have a story to tell or story to share, and the form in which that story takes is where the beauty lies, I think. I think
hmm
so.
hmm
Yeah. So for me, a lot of times I will I do stuff with fabric and thread. Um and but I went to art college, so I have a bachelor's in fine arts where I did a little bit of everything. And because I wanted the skill set to, if I had an idea, I picked the media for that was appropriate for that idea. If that makes sense. So, um, Jane,
so
the
that's interesting to me because there's so many ways that you can draw on any medium to convey an idea. And
yes,
yet in each form, it's going to be at your discretion as to how it's going to come out. That
yes,
must be really empowering. I really, yeah. It's hard work, but empowering.
it can be very empowering, and sometimes it can be very overwhelming. So, but Jane says, "I have a box of poems I don't share. I don't feel worthy." You are worthy, Jane.
Jane, you're worthy.
So there you go. Thank you, Care Bear. Um, so, um, so you, when did you first pick up tarot?
I didn't pick up tarot until probably around um, 2020 when I started watching these channels.
Uh huh.
Um, and it was the political that started it because I was working as a fundraiser for a company that raises money for the DSCC, the DNC, the DCCC, Emily's List, Gabby Gifford's anti-gun pack. I forget what it's called. The one with her husband, who's governor, I think, of Arizona. But long story short was I would come on because I get so burnt out from reading the articles that I needed to keep apprised of what was going on,
Uh
Gerald, that
huh.
I needed some fun aspects of it to keep me interested or clued in and just have a new perspective. So I started with the first one that I saw on YouTube was Truth Warrior Tarot, Amy.
Okay.
And then I saw through her, Scott Spiritual Essence came on her channel. Then
Uh
I
huh.
saw Lilac Lantern. Then I saw a whole bunch of others. I saw Denise because she was used to be on Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astro. She used to be on Scott's channel quite a bit.
Uh huh.
So that's what got me into it. And I just found it really fascinating that people who have years of experience with tarot were able to look at cards that to me on the surface wouldn't give it away. But to
Hmm.
them, it meant everything. You know, what she can do with this type of deck in a legal fashion and tell you about the
Oh yeah.
legalities that could happen is just it's such a gift, and and it's also an art form, and I don't think I had seen anything like that where something so um, mind numbing is what Trump was doing could actually be that entertaining, and it was, and I enjoyed it immensely.
Mm.
Yeah.
I have and Ben Ryan beat me to it. The speaks for itself is linked there. I also have it linked here. So um, and Moira is here. Hello. And
Nora.
Hypnicity said Denise is wonderful.
Yeah.
So, and Jane the Seeker said, I only have 50 years. I'm still learning. So, um, So tell me about, how has tarot influenced your writing?
Ooh, good
Let's
question.
start
Love
that
to
way.
answer that. I've made it my mission to go out of my way always, before I even knew tarot, to channel directly from what my spirit guides would tell me, even before I knew they were spirit guides.
Hmm.
Meaning that if I am opening a deck and I'm doing a live, or if I'm not doing a live, I will open up a deck and maybe do a Celtic tarot or do three cards, whether it's for me or for someone else now. And what
Uh-huh.
I do is, through this little show I have called Psychoteropathy, which hasn't really been embraced the way I would like it to, mainly my fault because I don't come on as often as I do because of lives, because I'm burnt out, even though I work from this room. Um, I'm able to have people self-diagnose based on a poem I get from maybe three cards or a
Uh-huh.
number of cards. And sometimes, Gerald, one of those poems ends up in a book. In fact, I have one of them that was a channeling from a reading done not for one person, but just for either the collective or a group of people. And then I went back and looked at it like last week. I'm like, that's going in my next book. So I think it inspires confidence, and it inspires maybe a different perspective from which the spirits are speaking through me to
Uh-huh.
actually maybe write something in a different format. As I
Yeah.
said, content can take many forms, but if people find some of the wording or the language a little bit too refined that I use, which has always been a criticism of my work, then the tarot has helped me to almost tell a story more than it has to do with channeling. So there's a little bit of both in it, and it
Sure.
shapes the form in a better way, I think, for people to find it more accessible.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of it is, my Jeffrey, one of the things that he does when he reads tarot, and people have heard me talk about this, he creates a sentence or two that sums up the reading based upon the images. So
Yeah.
it's a very similar approach that you have, Jeff, about using some of either the imagery, the meaning, the intuition, the intuitive hit that you get, uh,
Right. And
for that. So yes.
I've done it on Heather's channel quite a bit, and she does it too, where you pull a card and maybe you take the literal approach with what the card is, like if you're
Mhm.
using the deck of character, or maybe you
Oh
take
yes.
a little bit more nuanced approach based on the question that someone's asking and the energy you feel off them, and you just spout something that comes out based on what the cards say. And that's why I wanted this idea of psychoteropathy. I know there's politarology and all these other ones that people do. I think it can be therapeutic for someone to delve into their own psyche by finding out what their own self-diagnosis is, maybe based on a
Yes.
reading. It's for entertainment purposes only, but
Yep.
it's something for which I derive a lot of pleasure. And some people have told me that those, I won't call them diagnoses, but those readings where I do that sort of thing help resonate and stick with them even more than the
Yes.
cards would.
Yes. Well, and I think I think part of it is, Jeff, is what's the relationship an individual has with tarot or cards.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it can be used to help understand and learn about things that you don't see, or things that are hard to look at. So it can be very, very powerful that way. So um, so yeah. Um, I did put in a link to, Ben has put your channel in, so that people
Thank
can
you, Ben.
make sure that they do that. I did post the link to Some Good Writ, which is available through the Zon of Amma. So, and all of that stuff. So, there's so many questions going on in my mind. How often do you write?
I try to force myself. I used to write for the second book, Some Good Writ. It was literally written. 60% of it was probably pretty much done, and I would write every night. Now I'm writing maybe once or twice a month. But with Some Good Writ, that was as my father was passing from cancer. So it's direct. I'd come home and I'm like, I'm going to turn this horrible thing into something productive.
Sure.
Um, the other part of it is if something happens to me where I feel as if there might be a title that I like, or if a couple of words gel with me, or if there's one line. Most of the time now I'm not remembering it, but sometimes it'll come into my subconscious or be in my consciousness and then dissipate, and then I won't write anything. But if I remember to put it down in my computer and I remember to write it, sometimes the idea, Gerald, is more than the actual content that might come from it. It gives
Yep.
me the impetus to do it.
Yep.
So it's a little bit fewer. There's less output now than there was maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping, because the first book people criticized for being too depressing or too much about death or obstructionism or whatever you want to call it in one's life. But a lot of it is a word play. A lot of it is, as they say in French, un jeu de mots, or using words to mean something else, but still capture the essence of what's being said figuratively, even if you're looking at it literally. You need to go back with poetry, I think, and this has been the case for however many years, hundreds, thousands, however long. You need to look at it maybe 3 or 4 different ways before it resonates with you, or you can read something on one level and then realize, hey, you're connecting it to this, which is an aspect I hadn't thought of before.
Yes.
No.
Very, very true. I also think the idea of any form of art, as it grows, it evolves and changes.
Yep.
So do we. So do
Mm-hmm.
we, the creators. And I think for me, that's one of the beauties of any type of artwork, because
Yeah.
if something, sometimes I can create something very quickly in a day, and other times it takes me 6 months. So it's one of those things that it's like, I part of it is how to be present with it.
Yeah, how to be present with it, and a lot of it is your muse, and sometimes that muse. I'm a total believer in this, and this is just through what I've noted. Um, if you're blocked spiritually, in some instances, you're blocked from your muse. Or if you are blocked spiritually, it can be a really beneficial thing, because it seems like, or it seems as if to me, the better writing, Gerald, comes from painful experience. And I don't want to blanket that, but I don't have a really sunny poem in those 2 books, except for the ones about sex.
But yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I completely do. Well, and it's and some of those painful times can be can be made beautiful through poetry.
Hmm. that's even the more challenging thing, because to find language that's flowery yet precise in its element about aesthetics and beauty, I think is more challenging than people give it credit for.
Hmm.
People think of Hallmark cards and the platitudes within those. I think it's a lot more difficult than that which is presented
Yes.
to us.
Yeah. Moira said there are also different stages of creation. Inspiration and hard
Yeah.
slogan are both
Hmm.
required. Well, yes, because it's like the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is showing up and doing the same thing over and
Hmm.
over and over again until it becomes much more instinctual rather than you having to think about everything. So, um, but yeah, so true. And find the right word can be torture. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, but yeah. Um, Okay, so you started tarot about 4 years ago,
Hmm.
and do you have a favorite deck that you like to use?
Um,
He didn't know I was going to ask him that question.
No, but I do have one that is my current favorite, only because I most recently bought it at a metaphysical shop. But and people who've been to my channel know it is by Lo Scarabeo. It's called the Valentina Tarot.
Oh, yes, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, and the artwork is just simply to die for. I think it's so good. Like the Lover's card,
Hmm.
you know. So the standard Rider Way, I feel a better kinship with, because I'm not really an experienced reader. I haven't done it for, 40 or 50 years. Um, if I'm reading, I think, with a group of people, or I'm reading with people one on one, I will use the Valentina Tarot, but with YouTube and the way it dings people, I try to avoid that one. Um, Only because some of the images are a little bit risque. But like this one too, the Monster Tarot, this one I really like a lot. Um,
Uh-huh.
that's a cute one.
Hmm.
And I like Lenormand almost more than I like tarot, because you can, with the knighting versus in a tarot, when you're
Yes.
just doing a Celtic, you can get all kinds of hits from these when you go, one down and two over. So I actually prefer the Lenormand as far as telling a fortune goes. If you're
Yes.
asking a political fortune, but if I'm trying to get energy on somebody, then I'll use a Celtic cross and use the standard Rider Waite.
Uh-huh. Well, and I think well, it's just like with anything. Okay, so do you write your poetry on a computer?
No, no, I do actually now. I write it on a phone. I'll use Notepad and write it that way. And then
Yeah.
I'll pass out in the middle of the night and not finish it. And then I'll have to readdress it five, 5 days down the line. Or something will end, a poem will end before I think it should, but I feel like something's telling me within me that it's over. So then I'll stop. Like I won't fight the process. I'll just be like, okay, I'm done. So some of them will be shorter.
That's really powerful. I
Yeah.
mean, paying attention to when the muse hits, when the inspiration evolves, how it evolves. Um, that's part of why when I'm doing stuff in fabric, I like to take pictures of it because it's the progress of it, it's the process. So, but okay, so let me get caught up in chat. We had Moira said, I am today just about finished a Lenormand deck I started over a year ago. Lots of hard slogging. Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Cosmic Blue Avian said, I have fully relate and understand the concept as an artist too, to create a beautiful piece from sadness or grief. That's how challenges make us present and transform the elevation of our energy. There's some
That
nice
sounds like
words there.
transmuting.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Vicky writes everything longhand. There was in the beginning of the, oh, and then they type it. Oh, and Jane has lots of bar napkins.
I used to.
Yeah.
I used to.
Yeah. And Kaylee said, we'll be sharing my Lenormand deck I made tonight.
I can't wait to see it, Fogo, when I see you.
I've already seen it.
Oh, you've already seen it?
Mm-hmm. Yes. There you go. Well, and I think it is one of those things that, well, in the before times when everything was starting in 2020, I was doing daily writing, and that was evolving into different stories. And then I have paused on that, which I could get back to that, could get back to daily writing. And I was doing it longhand with no less with a fountain pen, because for me as an artist can only afford the best tools.
This is true. And I've heard you say that before too.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think. Yeah.
Yes. I remember that in college when we were painting, one of the professors said, buy the best materials you can, because if you do a great piece of artwork with crappy materials, it won't last. So, and
Yeah.
especially if I'm using really cheap paint, and then I feel like I'm good enough to start using the good paint, then what happens is I have to relearn to use the good paint, because the good paint reacts differently than the bad paint, or the not so good, the cheap stuff. Anyhow, I'll get off my soapbox. So, let's talk about these. We're can you believe we're already at 47 minutes?
We are.
We
Wow.
are. Yes. It's
Wow.
yeah. So, Kaylee said, I'm excited to see people's thoughts. I had to MacGyver them by mounting on playing cards, but it worked. Hey, and that's one of the things. I think creativity is one of the gifts that people overlook. They don't believe they are creative, except they are. Look at me, I'm pointing. Except they are.
Yeah.
Think about creativity. When you're cooking a meal and you have certain pieces, certain ingredients, and you MacGyver those together, you temperance them together to make an amazing meal. That's creativity.
Even some of the most disparate ingredients work really well together. So, in spite of yourself and not thinking you are creative, every now and then, and not even now and then, every day that you wake up, you're creative, because there's a lot going on in the subconscious that you're not working with. And if you can work with it and find a way, and I'm not talking about shadow work or anything like that, but if you can channel it into something, this has been my one joy in life. I can't draw, I can't, do the things that would make me a fully rounded artist. But I think there's no degree to which you are an artist or you're not. I think you're born with capabilities that you can expand upon. And I hate the word talent versus the word artistry, because I think one is subjective and one is actually a little more, how do you say it? Little less subjective. Like you can have someone who has this creativity and this ability, that innate ability to some degree. But if you can't hone it or develop it or put it into something concrete, you're not an artist, but you're talented still, and I feel like talent is potential, but artistry is actually the manifestation of that talent. And that's all we are. We're just manifesting what it is about us, and we're all good at it. So you got to figure out what that sweet spot is for you. And that's one of my poems, Sweet Spot, by the way. So
Yes. Well, I'll let you off the hook, because you were going down a line. I'm like, I am going to smack them back, because this idea of is oh, I can't draw and I'm not an artist. You haven't learned how to draw yet.
True. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And
Or
I think
if
it's
you if you want to.
Yes, if you want to. And people have natural talents, natural affinities for things. Your affinity is for words. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. It always has been.
So my natural affinity is for color and
design.
overcomplicating things. And overcomplicating things. So
I have a friend who went to Skowhegan College in Maine, and he works now as a multimedia artist that goes around to different schools with these dolls, just from a standpoint of, or with the mindset of inculcating the idea about equality. And these are dolls of different colors that are made. He's got a Diana Ross doll he made. Skowhegan College in Maine, and he's a full-fledged artist, and he's making a very good living off of it. So you can't tell me that that developing a craft and working at it, I agree with you, can't pay, or it can't turn into something even better once your baseline is there. We all have a baseline. It's just how we want to develop the baseline. That's so key. Yeah.
That's really well said. And there's a delicate balance of, I'm sure there were times when you were writing these two books, some things just flowed and it was incredible. It's like, you poke your finger and on bleeds, you bleed onto the page. All that is you. And then sometimes it was like there was more sweat on the page than there were words.
More in the first book, because
So I think it's important to the natural affinity, not natural affinity, the affinity for things can really inspire. They also can drive us to doing more and more and keep showing up. Jane the Seeker said, I'm in competition with a sloth. So I'm just like going, I'm picturing her with a really long fingernails. So here I go. I kill my guest. That's tarotaskbackwords. Please like and subscribe before anyhow. See, and by the way, laughter is great energy.
It is, and I've been doing less of it over the last 5 years, and I notice the feeling in my chakras from not doing it. It's so beneficial. This life simply isn't worth, well, it's worth it, but it's not worth being in a tizzy or a dither on. And as I'm getting older, I'm doing less laughing, and I think if I could return to that mentality, because I think as kids, we're just programmed out of these things. And I really wish our childhoods, no matter whose it was, no matter if they came from the most affluent family with all the wealth in the world, there's something missing that we're always trying to get back. And I think if we can't get it back, we're going to have to find ways of commuting, being in a community like this, or sharing or giving. And I think that's what you do so well. And I I revel in it because within the tarot community, I'm not finding a lot of the poetry. I know there are people that are doing it, but I'm seeing it in name only. I'm not seeing a lot of artistry, and I really think it's so integral to teaching, but that we're not doing in the real world right now. Um, that virtually we have to be in our own niche to find our tribes, and that's what I appreciate so much about the community. But
Yeah.
um, even with the books, because I want to get this idea out there before I forget it. On Speaks for Itself on the cover, you see all these little heads that are lips, right? What I was trying to do with the artists that I worked with was create the idea of that Salvador Dali painting, the Persistence of Time, where you had all the
Yes.
clocks that were lying down.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted something surreal, so that the heads are supposed to be mouthpieces or talking figures that are autonomous, who just run their mouths constantly and talk and talk and talk and talk, but don't say anything of substance. And I think that was why I named the book Speaks for Itself, because there were so many things in there, so many ideas that may not have resonated at first for people,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of it was my retort to those people who would gossip and who would say things about me growing up, or who knew things. And I think the essence of that was captured brilliantly by the artist I used. The
Yes.
second one I didn't put as much effort into. I just had a vision of a chalkboard, and I had a vision of an apple, and I just said, throw that one on there and let's get
Mm-hmm.
this out by 2022, because that was, my immediate thought after my dad died, that I wanted something by which to remember him. So
I think that's really incredibly beautiful because um, I think um, I always think people don't. Um, I can never I can never plan for how someone is going to respond to a piece of artwork. You can never respond. You can never plan for how someone is going to respond to your poetry.
yeah, I've had times where I've done readings in some places one on one, not virtually, and I thought they were the best things I'd ever written, and then I get nothing. So it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, and as an artist and as a creative, it's so important to that's it's like being in love. I'm going to put this in. When you are in love, you give your heart to someone and allow them to do whatever they want with it. They could cradle it, they could hold it, they could
break it.
hug
Yeah.
it. They can also smash it. Um, and the thing is, and this is where there's strength involved, all artists have to keep showing up, even though that sometimes what happens isn't what was expected, and it's painful. So,
Yep. And just bouncing off of that idea, when I talk about the 3D not being about ascending, but about time structures being eliminated. Um, everyone's healing process is like 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, three steps back, one. It's not linear. So at any given time, the story that you're going to tell is going to resonate differently,
mm-hmm.
even for yourself.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things. I think it's important that we honor that each piece of artwork is a snapshot in time. And how we look at that um, evolves over the times that we are looking at it.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's an important thing to remember. Um, I'm not picking on the Mona Lisa, but is the Mona Lisa a great piece of artwork, or is it the history that we've given it, the intrigue that we've given it, all of that stuff?
Is she really smiling?
Is it really Leonardo in
Is it really
drag?
Leonardo in drag? And people have hypothesized that as well. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And Ben is being a great mod and putting in links. And by the way, just to be clear, everyone, know your limits and purchase responsibly. I'll just say that.
You said something yesterday I loved about tarot decks. I'm starting to go crazy with them and purchase every one I see on every one of these channels. I do not purchase responsibly, so.
Just so long as you do so knowingly. And Jane says, mine needs some watering. My heart is thirsty, but not in a desperate way. I think that
Yeah,
makes sense.
and that's something that will always stay with you, needing to water that heart, because you're constantly looking for things from an ego standpoint that are going to make you feel better. But when in reality, what's timeless about you and will stand the test of time is not just how you treated others, but yourself too, because that's the reflection through which everything's seen. So
That is so true.
yeah.
Said,
Hi, Richie.
Hi, Richie. You must be a writer. So, Moira said, I can recommend Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. Amazing book if you want to draw. I do have to give that book because my high school teacher used that book to teach me drawing, and it really changed. It gave me a different way to look at things that I still use.
I have to check that out then, because
It's a classic book. It's a really good book. So, and Kaylee said I needed to hear that today.
I mean, I'm so bad I couldn't even draw the cubes you needed to in geometry. I couldn't draw 3D dimensional things. I do have gross motor skill problems since I was a kid, so that could be part of it. And that's probably in part why geometry was harder for me than algebra, because it's simply not linear. But having the ability to convey things that aren't linear as a writer is a totally different skill, because it's coming from, and I don't know if it's a left or right brain thing, if we creatives are all on one side of the brain or not. I've heard different theories about that, and I don't know if that's even true, Gerald, anymore, if we've debunked some of that. But I'd like to say that it would be simplistic to say that we're all right or left brain, because I can't draw, and artistry is not left or right brain to me. I feel like it's more than that. I feel like we're not always left or right brained. There are parts of us that are, according to a given skill, but that doesn't make us left brained or right brained.
I think when we access all of our being and all of our brain, that's when we are most authentically who we are. And how quickly we switch between those,
and can veer off. Yeah.
Yes, we can veer off. And how do we translate those things? Yeah, how do we translate that right side of the brain aspect in a left brain?
Yeah,
way?
Fogo Pogo, I've had the same result when you've done quizzes 50. Yeah, I've had that same result. And to me, I did horror by comparison. I was always better at verbal, even as a first grader. I was way ahead verbally of a class, and a lot of people thought that was environment. My parents were speaking two different languages to me. They hardly made mistakes. They had master's degrees in English, and one was a PhD in French. So there is that argument about nature versus nurture too. But when artistry is at play, I don't think we give artistry enough credit for the work that can be done. We just say, hey, there's talent. They're talented. No, they've done work. They've done lots of work that you haven't seen behind the scenes. And I find that diminishes by just reducing it to that. It reduces that people have to hone their crafts, whether they're actors, whether they're writers, whether they're performance artists, whether they're, a doctor or it's a bunch of bunk. And I always feel like we're inhibiting our own abilities when we just say, oh, they're talented and I'm not.
Yes. Well, and Thomas says that's called precocious.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here, we'll do this. This section of the video is brought to you by the word precocious. Everyone say it with me. Precocious. Precocious. Exceptionally early in development or occurrence. It may seem precocious, but like, share, and subscribe to our channels. Precocious. And
that word's had a negative connotation, but I didn't know on the surface meaning it's benign. It doesn't have a negative.
Nope.
It doesn't.
Nope.
Does it? No.
No. And Jane the Seeker, that was not planned. However, Thomas from Tarot Your Way may have recalled that I had that, and of course I'm going to use it. Cosmic Blue Avian, we are always using all areas of our consciousness, in our neurotransmitters are infinite in capacity. Yes.
Yeah.
PD said, I started out writing with my left hand and I was made to use my right hand. I'm ambidextrous, and in art, I actually draw better with my non-dominant hand. So that was strong, what you said about art and being artistic. Like with makeup artistry, my client loved her look and another person wanted the exact same colors and look. She didn't like what she wanted.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about with what resonates so well. And Gerald's hit the nail on the head on that one, because it's when they're talking about aesthetics, they teach whole courses in college about whether it's not even about art. It's about the aesthetics of language, the aesthetics of beauty, the aesthetics of, and beauty is aesthetics, but it seems to me as if the way the world is right now, the way we siphon or we filter information sort of taints that. Meaning, I think what the media is showing us, even if we don't think something is of value, you look at a Warhol now and you look at a Warhol 40 years ago.
Yes.
There's an instance right there where I feel both of those things are at play in the media and artistry. And I feel the filter through which something comes through, or it's not about aesthetics as so much as opinion. And I think opinion informs too much of what's going on. And that's where the bad filtering is coming through.
Yes. And I think, I have learned that all art, and I'm just going to use the general term art for, dance, music, writing, poetry, whatever, all art is a reaction to what came before it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and
that's fact.
Yes.
That's fact.
Jeff said it's a fact. So people.
It is a fact. And
I win.
If you studied, I took art history in college, but it was always reactionary to the Baroque movement. And then what happened, in the postmodern movement was a revolt against what preceded that. And
yep.
That's its own creative evolution, you see, and it's so much more than what we're experiencing at the time.
Yes.
Because when it was comparative literature or comparative art history, it got really difficult, because if your opinion of something is seeing it through one lens, then you're not going to have any sense for aesthetics. And aesthetics is so
Correct.
key to that. It's
Correct.
so key. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I think it's important for me anyhow. This is just for me. I need to understand where I am in my evolution. So if I look at artwork that I created when I was in college 30 plus years ago, and I look at what I do now, I'm like, are these the same person? And so I think it's an important thing. We need to honor, we need to understand the whole picture. I said,
And
yeah,
yeah,
Ethnicity said, we're not seeing the full picture. And Medium Betsy Palmer said, art teacher, don't like or hate art. Instead, to try to understand the message the artist is trying to convey. That's true. That is very, very well said, Betsy. Very well said. And Val, Dragonfly Crystals is here, as well as Next Level Channeling. Speaking of overachievers, Next Level Channeling over, there were a couple of other things that I wanted to bring up, Jeff, before
okay,
we head out, because we're at, in an hour and 11 minutes. This is, maybe we'll have to do another one.
we've got to. This
Care
was
Bear,
fun.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Care Bear said, I've been observing my twin 1-year-old girls and experiencing the world through their eyes. That purity of the first time lens has been lighting up my creativity. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And
that's channeling too, by the way. You don't have to be channeling into yourself. You're channeling your daughter's own or your child's own experience into, and there's not one experience to be had. There are infinite number of experiences to be had. So hats off to you.
yeah, I love that. I love that. And I also love the idea of removing the idea of right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
as we're not born into the world knowing right from wrong.
And I
Yeah,
also
we're
think,
taught that.
given the lessons we're seeing politically right now, where this feeling, and I've talked about this on my channel, where yes is no, no is yes, and we can't filter the information in a proper way. There's a reason for that, because once all of this is done, those dualistic ideas, those ideas of that are prejudicial, and I don't mean racist, I just mean prejudicial ideas, are going to go, because I think there is more than one lens through which to look at something there. And it doesn't mean it's tainted if you're looking at it through the lens that is considered unpopular or unfounded. But you need to know why you're looking at it through that, because if you want to ascend, you need to know what it is you need to work on. But you can't do it if you're myopic, if you're sitting there in, well, I don't like this, and I don't like that, and have you ever tried it? No, I don't. That's got to stop, because as we're going global, okay, we're going into globalism. That's gonna have to stop soon. Otherwise, we will see the end of our society. We will see the end of societies, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know how I got from art to society, Gerald, but I.
Well, as an artist, it is sometimes artists. No, not sometimes. Artists often see the world differently than others, and we have to step away from, or I have to step away from what I already know and what I believe and what I think I'm seeing, to stepping back and to allow something different to come into my realm of understanding. I don't have to agree with it. Just because things can exist without me agreeing with them.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, they can exist and you don't have to embrace them. And I think that and that's the problem with certain oppositions right now. We've been for years able to embrace one another's differences, and all of a sudden now we're not. And I think we're at a point where we're having to see why we're doing that. And there's a reason for it. So it's time to pull our head out of our asses and say, why are we doing it that way? Why aren't we looking at it this way? And for everybody, the reasons could be different. It could be something
Yes.
else that's going on
Yes.
personally, or it may not even be political. So,
Mhm. Well, and a lot of times it's politics um encompasses a lot of different things for people. And that those can be positive aspects or negative aspects. It's we do have to learn to filter. We also have to learn how to use our brain in order to find out what is true and meaningful for us.
mhm.
If
Yep.
we don't do that, that it creates additional problems because we perpetuate something that may not be working.
Yeah. And if you're supposed to evolve here in the school of life, y- you know, you don't do it now, you don't want to come back and do it because it's going to be all that much harder, especially if everyone is quote unquote ascended and you haven't. So,
Yeah.
even the hard truths about who I am, I still have problems getting those out to my family. But I feel like through the books, I can say I'm out. I can say I'm gay. I can say these things. And you may not see it, or you may not want to see it, or you might see it through your own lens. But I've said it. I've done my part to heal
Yeah.
myself. You
Mhm.
take it, you like it, you hate it, you buy it, you don't. That's
Yes.
fine. But I've done enough of my soul healing to where I can feel unburdened, or that it's been a release for me. And I don't have to say anything else to you.
Right.
I know that, yeah, I know that sounds kind of closed-minded in itself, because if you can't accept what people are going to throw at you, and a lot of times it's shit, then you don't have a thick skin. And I don't have the thickest of skins. I was the type of person who took everything very personally, and I think Gerald felt that energy about me when he brought me into the chat in the beginning, because I was like, oh my god, I'm not going to be done in time. I'm not going to. We're still working through that, people. We're going to be
Yes.
working through these things till we die. We always want to be perfect, and it's like, no piece of writing's perfect. No piece of art is ever perfect. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Even the masterpieces, okay? There's
Yes.
all art is unfinished. But where does that leave it? Where does that leave it?
Yes. Well, and I will say, I was actually having a conversation with a friend last night, and the idea of growing a thick skin, I think I call bullshit on that.
I'm glad someone is.
We do not need to grow a thick skin. What we need to do is we need to understand what is mine and what is someone else's, so that I can differentiate those things,
Hmm.
because this is how that person feels. This is their experience. Mine is different. I also then have to use my intelligence to go, okay, when this happens in response to something that I've done, how am I going to how am I going to respond to keep myself, to be true to myself? I don't want everybody to have thick skins. I don't. I don't. Come for me, YouTube. I don't want everybody to have thick skins. I want everyone to be kind and generous, and to be patient, and to also understand what's theirs and what's someone else's, and to allow those, and to know how to tend to my needs in those situations.
Hmm.
Does that make
Yep.
sense?
No, it's true.
And that was my soapbox for the day.
I don't think, and I don't think the way we're taught in school does any favors for these things at all. I don't think, and I think cutting art classes and cutting all these things out is a real damn shame,
Yep.
because um, you may not have a bent in quote unquote art, all right, but if you restrict yourself to what you know, how will you ever grow? I mean, there are so many content can take so many different forms, as I said before, that I don't think it's good to reduce somebody to this mono-dimensional idea of how society should work. And you won't get paid for art, you'll never do anything in art. And I feel as if we're coming to a point where we're going to have another renaissance where maybe it's other parts of the world we're going to see it, but in the whole idea of merging art and technology, which I'm sure Gerald would be very good at, that is so important right now. So important than to just show how we can, weaponize things for what the wars of the future are going to look like in virtual times. And I see that coming too through AI. I see new ways of doing things that are going to hinder art through AI, and I see new ways that are going to make war easier through AI. But we can make it better if we start collectively, even if we don't have the quote unquote talent to realize how important these things are for the reasons I just said, so.
Yes. Book Bewitched said, I agree. To know and to understand what is mine is the thickest I want my skin. And Kaylee said, that's why I went into science growing up, even though I easily would have done art. And I think, and it's like that idea of no living, no money. And it's like, yeah. And Val said, well said, Jeff.
Thank you, Val.
And that's Tarot Ask Backwards. Everybody, please like and subscribe to their channel. And so one of the things, somebody said something. Okay, here we go. This is from Cosmic Blue Avian. This is a very excellent conversation. It feels authentic, which is not a common experience in terms of artistic expression.
It's an important one to have, and it's because if we're talking about the future, we're undoubtedly talking about those things that we both mentioned just now.
It's like, have you read your poetry, Jeff? It is exactly right.
And again, I appreciate that, but I know that some of it seems closed-minded to a lot of people. People have read it and not liked it. That's okay. But understand that it can be hard to accept a lot of different things in this world and still think something's good.
Well, and Vanessa
S. Or it has merit. It has merit.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Vanessa S. said, my family are into finance and medical. I'm not. I see colors. I hope there is a blending. I think some of the most successful artists, financiers, creatives, scientists have the ability to see art in what they're doing. What is it? It's magic is that which science cannot yet explain. Because people, I have this feeling of you can see, I can see some of these great scientists hanging out with the artist at the salons, having these conversations that are going to spark other ideas. And it's like, there's a beauty in that, because there's this, what I get drawn to, and one of the reasons that I am drawn to you, Jeff, is your passion for your writing and what you do. That pulls me in. I love that.
To me, if you don't have some passion in this world, even if you're depressed, even if you're, where I am or where I have been personally sad, if you can't find and I hate the term outlet, because an outlet makes it seem like you're desperate for something. You're not desperate if you have a passion for something, okay? And it's a hobby. Well, no, it's a facet of who I am.
Yes.
when you're looking at me, you're looking at my art, you're looking at the things I've chosen for myself.
Yes.
So I think, and tarot readers go through that too. You're an artist because you're channeling a language um, unknown that's unknown. I was watching. It was David Packman, whom I admire dearly and think is so gorgeous, but whatever. He's like Midas touch or whatever. It's liberal, like
Uh-huh.
left liberal. He says he does not believe, and it was inspired by that episode where, remember on Fox News they had a reader on and they got the death.
Five of Cups.
Yeah, yeah. And he's like, this is stupid anyway, but I'm going to play it because Jesse Waters thinks that, tarot is stupid or whatever, but he's going along with this, so worried about Trump now. But my point about this is tarot readers aren't reading to always give fortune. They're trying to read because they want to tell you a message about what could happen if you don't do something. But David Packman feels, I don't understand how people can think that if I pull it from a probability or stochastic point of view, these cards and this is what it's going to read. I can't understand why people, he's not saying, but he comes from an economic background. I don't understand why people don't understand why I don't embrace psychics. And at that point, I just said, that's a very, very narrow way to look at it, because I don't think we're talking probability and chance when we're just pulling out cards. We're talking about something greater that we don't understand yet, and we may never understand. But guess what? It's been used for hundreds of years. It's been used in practical form through, because every card is ruled by a planet. We've been using astronomy for many years to predict the future. I mean, how wrong have these people been on certain levels? I don't think that wrong. Even people like Galileo or some of the scientists, coming back to what you said in the past, or what one of the people here said, they've been using a form of astrology. So it's like when someone comes out and says that, I'm just like, but he's fun to watch. Like, I like watching him, but you've got to be careful about limiting yourself.
Oh yeah, we have to know what is healthy for us. What's a healthy balance? So, okay, so there was something else. Care Bear said, people pleasing is something I'm overcoming. It was something ingrained in me growing up. Authenticity of self-expression is a healing focus now for me, personally and artistically. I love that. And it's impossible to hold someone else's torch. People have to learn to carry their own light and shine it bright. I agree with that. And sometimes people don't want to shine their light bright for reasons that I may not understand, and that's okay. Val has said, Gerald and Jeff, you are both a beautiful balance of the divine masculine and divine feminine within you. This is what we work towards, that balance within. Yep. So, oh, and Michelle Marie is here. Hello, Michelle Marie. Jonathan. And okay, so hang on. Bewitched. I'm sorry he felt that way. Love Pac-Man, though he doesn't feel that way. That hot to me. LOL. Now, there we go. In the, this was going to be an hour show. It is now an hour and 29 minutes.
Oh,
people are liking and subscribing to your channel.
You forgot to ask me what tarot ass backwards meant.
Well, we could do that the next time.
Okay.
We could do a part 2 if you want.
Okay.
We could do a part 2.
Okay.
Know your limits, purchase responsibly, and stay tuned, because as soon as we're done here, Tarot Ask Backwards and I are going to figure out another time on a Sunday
to do this again
and find out what it is that tarot ass backwards mean. Yeah. And book is like, please do this
Do this
again.
again.
So if you want, no pressure. I'm doing that right now as Jeff is on camera. So do you want to come back, Jeff?
Yeah, I do. I really, really do.
Okay, that's lovely. So so we will say goodbye. Hang out for a little bit, Jeff, so that we can get our calendars out. And I'm going to try to figure out which outro I'm going to use. I'm going to use this outro. Bye.